Hello, welcome to Theatrical Makeup with Mrs. Sohn. Today I will be demonstrating the makeup of creating an old age character who is evil or at least extremely grumpy. Let me show you my design plan. So you can see that. All right, let's get started. So as I apply my foundation, I'll be doing some talking. First of all, the foundation color that I'm using is not one that I would use for a healthy, regular character that I want people to find open, attractive, or easy to like. Right? This foundation is far too pale for my skin tone. And the reason I'm using it is so that I can go ahead and get started with the cold, hard nature of this character. Now, here are some options. If you do not have a foundation in your kit that you feel is pale enough, simply use your lightest foundation color and go ahead and cover everything on your face with your lightest color. And then you can take your ultralight highlight color and tap a layer of that over the top of your foundation that you used. Alternatively, if you're very fair, you could go ahead and use the ultralight as your foundation for this makeup. And I would also encourage you to consider using some other different colors. I will be demonstrating a completely alternative color palette with this makeup. I will be using Misty Violet for my shadows and Bright White for my highlights. You could do the same, or you could use more natural colors. The evil effect is not only dependent on your color scheme. The evil effect is dependent on the shapes that you create and the angles of any creases that you create on the face and neck. All right, so as usual, we started with a clean face and hair out of the way and our layer of foundation. So I feel fairly satisfied with that coverage. As you can see, I look pretty pale, a little bit sickly, which is a good place to start for this makeup. All right, next thing I want to do is begin with the bone structure of my face. And as I said, I'm going to be using the Misty Violet as my shadow color. I'm just going to jump right in there and use the Misty Violet. Now on your color wheel for bruises and abrasions, you can find it. It is directly opposite the bright yellow. In the wheel it looks a little bit like black, but it's actually the Misty Violet. All right, so I want you to consider your bone structure of your forehead, and if the goal with this makeup is the opposite of happy old age, we need to use every opportunity to draw the viewer's eye toward the middle of the face to add length and narrowness to our face. Alrighty, I'm going to load my sponge up with some Misty Violet here. Okay, now on the forehead I'm going to attempt to create these shadows here, and I'm going to change the angle of them so that they are slightly V-shaped and bring emphasis to the center of the forehead. Okay, any opportunity for angles that turn down in direction, we want to take advantage of. All right, now at the temple, we want to really shadow in the temple, especially if you have a round face or a broad or wide forehead. I'm going to put a strong shadow in here that will seriously sink in the sides of my forehead. You'll notice that this shadow is stronger than what I just put on my forehead, which makes sense anatomically. Okay. Okay, you see that? Okay. The eyes. Right, I'm going to switch over to a brush, still using the Misty Violet. I'm going to seriously sink in these eyes. So bring in a strong eye socket shadow and bring it out across here. Now what I'd like you to understand about this makeup is when you use an alternative color scheme like I'm demonstrating, it's really going to be better suited for what I like to call a stylized production, where the characters and even the rest of the scenery, the lighting, has sort of a concept applied to it where the audience understands that this isn't the normal reality that we're used to. So perhaps the lighting will be very severe, the scenery will be quite stark and uninviting if our characters look like what I'll look when I'm finished. All right. Really sink that in. All right. Now, I can tie this shadow in to the sides of the nose. With Happy Old Character, we wanted to create a short and bouncy nose. The opposite is true for this character. We want to create a nose that is long and narrow, maybe crooked if you can get away with it, and it will be very helpful if you will tie this all together. So determine what, I'm taking a peek at my plan. Determine how you want that nose to turn out. Okay, and whatever you leave unshadowed is what the audience is going to believe is the center shape of your nose. So this makeup will be extreme. But I think that makes it quite fun. So narrow that nose in. And then let that fade out there on the side. I've got a little bit of a crookedness I can emphasize there, if I'd like to. My facial structure definitely makes a better hag than it does a round and happy granny. Those of you with round faces will be at a slight disadvantage. The makeup will not look as fitting on your face as it will on your narrow-faced neighbor. Okay, so as you can see, the part of my nose that's being left without the shadow really pops forward. Right. Okay, I want to make sure that I am really sinking in the philtrum here under the nose, on the lip, as well as this mustache area. I can get a pretty generous shadow here. It shouldn't be as strong as, say, the eye socket or the temple. I'll come back and do some softening work on a lot of these areas. Okay, under the cheekbone. Oh, I forgot one. Under the upper lip, or lower lip, excuse me. Going to keep that central. Remember, anything we can do to bring the viewer's eye toward the center of the face is going to narrow in the effect. At the cheek, I want to put in a strong under cheekbone cheek shadow. Really bring out that skeletal shape. Let that blend down. Onto the neck. Okay, speaking of the neck, I'd like you to try to find the tendon structure and emphasize the vertical nature of the neck. By shadowing on either side of those tendons. Keep these fairly soft. Seems like I got a little off center there. I don't know how I did that. All right, so you can see how that, hopefully you can see how that moves with my neck. A little harder, but soften that one a bit more there. Okay, you can also, if you've took your foundation down low enough, you can put a little hollow here in between the ends of your clavicle, your collarbone. I have a little too much flesh naturally for that to show up, but it helps to create the illusion of a slim, skinny gaunt. And also, if you put foundation low enough, you could go ahead and bring out those collarbones if you'd like. But I'm wearing a white shirt today, so I don't think I'm going to put makeup any lower on my face. All right, so those are the areas of shadow, and now that I've got them in, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of softening. Okay, I don't want to diminish too much. So soften any edges that seem way out of whack here. You might not be able to determine what needs to be softened until you start to put your highlights in, because then of course everything pops out even more. Oh, one area that I could go ahead and put a shadow in that I failed to do so is around the point of the chin. I can narrow the effect of my chin by bringing in that shadow much narrower than it actually exists. I seem to be removing it instead of putting it on. Let's try that again. There we go. So you can see how that brings focus to that area. All right. If you have room for them or If you feel like it will help, you can add a little bit of a shadow in here that comes off the sides of the mouth that turns down. See how that immediately increases the frown factor, right? So if I were to make that face. Okay. Right, I'm going to switch over to my highlight now. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to use the bright white. Now, I have enough color on my face that I could probably still go ahead and use my ultralight, but I wanted to show you what it looks like with the bright white. Let me get a clean sponge using this white. All right, so we're going to highlight all of the bony parts of the face and paying attention to the shapes that we're trying to create. Okay. So I'm going to keep my forehead highlight central and high right here. Remember, I'm trying to increase the length of the face and bring the eye in toward the center. So by bringing that highlight in there, that will help do that. Now, I'm also going to highlight here, not quite as bright as the center, but that will help to create angle on the forehead. Look at that, look how mean I'm already starting to look. Fun. Okay. Emphasize the eyelid overhang with the white on the eyelid. Just cleaning my brush out. I used the wrong one just a moment ago. All right. So load my brush up and really make this angle pop right here. Look at that sag that creates. Makes my eyes look squinty and mean. Okay. Pretty effective. And I'm going to bring that highlight out here as well, as if that fold of skin continues down into the crow's foot area. Okay. Still using my brush, I'll hit the front of the nose here. I'm letting my highlight start fairly high to lengthen the nose, and I'm bringing the highlight down around the tip. I will highlight the nares, keeping the highlight close to center. So see how that makes a shape on my nose? That will read across that distance. While I've still got the brush, go ahead and highlight sides of the philtrum. And this area here. Center of the chin. Switching back over to my sponge. That's a larger area, so soften that out with sponge. All right, now I'm going to keep working with the sponge, and I'm going to highlight this portion of the face and then down into the neck tendons. So the high cheekbone, you really want the highlight to be on the top side of the cheekbone. Bring this down the front of the face. Hit those tendons. If I had more of an Adam's apple, it would pick up a highlight right here, but because I have a fleshy neck, I have to kind of imagine it right there, bobbing up and down. All right, I've got the highlights on in all the major areas, so I'm going to take the back side of my sponge where I used it to blend my shadows, and I want to do a little bit of work to soften some of these meeting places. Again, I don't want it to go away. I just need it to be a little more sculptural in nature rather than linear in nature. And these areas where the highlight and the shadow interact with each other, just a little bit hard, so take those down a little. And then in this area where we transition from the side of the nose to the cheekbone, we need to disturb that a bit, make that a smoother transition. So it's still a good strong contrast, but the edges aren't quite as harsh. Alrighty. Looks a little too much like a mustache. There we go. Okay, so this is the structural work on the evil old character. Okay, now it's time to add our wrinkles. Again, we want to use any opportunity that we can to turn the viewer's eye down and make it travel down the face to create that downcast expression. So you could choose to change your shadow color if you'd like to, and a couple of options are to use the maroon that's in your Bruises and Abrasions wheel, which is between the yellow and the violet on this side, opposite the bright red. Or you could use your character shadow for your creases, or you could use the cinnamon that's in your natural color wheel. I'm going to use the maroon. Hopefully it won't look too out of bounds. It will be stylized, okay? On the forehead, again, we're going to work our way from the top to the bottom. And on the forehead, you want to create wrinkles that, again, bring the viewer's eye in. So if you raise your eyebrows and you have horizontal wrinkles that go all the way across your forehead, don't put them in all the way. Okay? Focus on just the center of those creases. Okay? So I've got in my plan, I have a couple of short, sort of severe wrinkles that happen in the middle of the forehead here. So right, so there's the shadow portion of those creases. I think the maroon's okay. It's a little blood-like, which I guess might be good for this scary gal. And do my blending. This maroon against this bright highlight, it really pops. In fact, I need a little bit more of a crease line here at the base of this one. I overblended that top one. There, that's better. All right, switching over to the white highlight. Now the white highlight, I am not going to have to blend too much because I need it to show up. And since I've got white highlight there in that whole area, I've got to let it be pretty firm right through there. Okay, another opportunity for a crease, when I do this face, I can see some shape here. So I'm going to put sort of the opposite of the happy comma-shaped wrinkles that I did above my eye for Happy Granny, and I'm going to do some severe creases that angle down and in, right through here. And they don't have to be symmetrical. In fact, this is probably more effective if this character is not symmetrical. A little twisted, if you will. Bring in my highlight. And you may or may not have room for this. You may have room for more centralized creases. We definitely want to put in the brow furrows, and you want to make them as long as you can get away with, all right? All right, oh, yes. Angry eyes. So pull that shadow out from the center of the crease. See how that brings your eye in here. Highlight. Okay. Now, moving on to the rest of the eye area, we want to create some crow's feet that turn down out here. And we want to also create a less friendly eye bag. All right, so I've loaded up my brush, and I'm going to kind of continue this angle that I created with my eye socket shadow and bring these crow's feet sort of down. Works. Okay, and now the eye bag. Again, we don't want it to turn up into a friendly smiley shape, so we want it to start in the same place, and then when you get about to the center under the pupil, then you want to either let it just stop right there, or you can maybe turn the end of it just down the slightest bit. And you can't get too crazy with it, otherwise it doesn't look like an eye bag. All right, now for the finishing on that, bring that shadow color into that inside corner. crow's feet a little bit, very delicately on the crow's feet. All right, now bring in our highlight. Yeah. This one I kind of put a crow's foot a little far forward, so I don't have a whole lot of room for my eye bag pooch. Again, it's all right if they're asymmetrical. Okay, taking the corner of my sponge, do my delicate blending here. Get a little closer look here. All right. Now on the nasal labial fold, we want to exaggerate it as long as we possibly can. Okay, so if your stops are out at your mouth, go ahead and cheat it down to the jawline. Now to find this one, of course this character doesn't do a lot of grinning, right? This character does this face. So if you can stretch your frown down and pull your nose up, you should be able to see the shape there. It's a fun face, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Nice and severe.